Good afternoon, Scott Roulette T3 Live. Welcome to today's recap. So a bit of a choppy day. Pretty much you had a fade either side of the indices. When the morning weakness came in, we held decent levels and reversed. You had to kind of buy the dip, and then once the Fed minutes came out and they said we're not going to do in June, and probably it's going to be September, et cetera, et cetera. It squeezed the shorts. Maybe you had some guys chase, and you had to sell that. So fading moves and in the indices at least, and looking for key stocks in action is the way to go, which is not the easiest way, but it's never easy. Making money is never easy, no matter what job you do. So that's why you have to be as prepared as possible and try and stay the course without as much frustration as possible. You go to the chart here of the SPX, and you will see that all in all, chart looks fine. Here was support 1, support 2, support 3, and now we're still hovering above the prior breakout. Are we, going powerfully to the upside? No. Are we above the 8-day? Are we above the 21-day? Yes. Have we been above that since this ignited above 2117? That's why I went into portfolio approach here, because that's part of my process. So now we're trying to hold in there. The moving averages are catching up, and we'll see what's next. We have a new point of reference today. All right, 2122 was the low, only about 2 handles below yesterday's low, and still in there. We'll see what happens. You could have a hedge if you want, have your positions, and the trend is still to the upside. As far as the Russell, still looking decent. Trying to play a little catch up. This is when it obviously broke trend. This is when it reclaimed the moving averages right in here, and now this actually held in better than the spiders. Notched a little bit of a high there. So did the bios. Another high. We talked about in here how this group and these 3 groups could become more of a tailwind versus a headwind like it did during that process, and hopefully you're making some money there. I think MDY was a little bit more quiet, but it's also back at highs where the other ones are playing catch up. As far as individual stocks, not a hell of a lot of things to go over. I'll go over BABA because that's been a focus of mine. I left on Thursday with like 8 positions, and on Sunday I read about the counterfeit on how every bear in the world started bashing BABA, and I basically didn't follow my own rules and I got out. If you look at the chart here real quickly, you will see that in this chart, I basically said you could play this a lot of ways, and that's what you have to do. You have to think about how you want to play these. You could be long versus this, okay, 84.91. That was the earnings gap. That's above the descending channel, okay, and it looked really good right here, and that's why I was in a lot, probably too much for myself. Then you had that little doji, and then on this day, which in the scheme of things didn't look like much, I wound up reducing some of my position, and then it briefly went below it on this day, and I got out, and then I didn't get back. Okay, so I was in here yesterday at the recap talking about how woe is me, I'm out of this trade, but look at this nice gap intact above the descending channel. The new red dog is going to revisit it again. So with that being said, you gotta go back to a stock. It does not remember what you had, how much you had, when you had it. If it's the right trade and the volume's there, you could always go back with it with a plan. Like today, I went back at it. I was actually in the gym. I was in the gym lunchtime because I say everyone at lunchtime should go to the gym. Maybe you have some bracket orders and stops in because the trade is so thin and there's not a lot going on. I look at my phone and I see, oh my goodness, Bob is at 88.90. If I was at my seat right now, I'd be buying a lot of it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to call the trade desk and buy a little bit. So I call the trade desk, buy a little bit. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to give it some time. Then I look at the thing, I see it's at 89.17 with the high at 89.19. Within my memory, I'm like, that high of the earnings day is 89.20 or ish. I'm like, I know if I was there, I'd be buying more. So I call up, I'm like, buy me a little bit more. I'm thinking to myself, I hope the stock doesn't do it to me again. And then PS, you look at the chart of BABA, and finally, it gave you that move. If you had it as a swing trade and just held it and didn't have too much size, none of this mattered to you. You probably made a lot more. For me, I just made some money back, and I didn't have the size that I had here or here, but I still have overnight, and it made me money back, and I'm happy that I grew a little bit and I went back to it and didn't say, you know what, I hate this stock, it has my number, I'm never going to make money. Okay, what happened was the 8-day caught up. You go to volume to see whether or not it was different, and look at the volume yesterday and today versus the volume within the flag. So now the question is, what's next? We'll see what's next. Okay, you have another gap here, which is right there, and we'll see if it trades into it, and if there's another fast money trade there. But overall volume spiked today, closed well, above all the criteria. The same thing when, remember, with Tesla. I said Tesla was in a downtrend, which it was. Okay, back here, every rally was sold, and then finally, okay, you had the gap up, whether it was because of the news that I was going to announce or this or that. It then, broke the descending channel, went sideways, and then the trade turned on. So you could have avoided this entire mess because it never went above the descending channel, finally did, and there you go. Now, as far as today is concerned, you had a small topping tail. So look, a lot of guys are making money on both sides of the tape now. Here you had a small red dog reversal yesterday, into the highs. You could have shorted it yesterday, took home a third, got your follow through, covered into the 8-day. Now you get to see what's next. So that's a two-way tactical trade. Netflix did the exact same thing. Netflix gave you a nice red dog reversal yesterday. Then today went down $4, traded below the prior low, which was 614, hit a low of 611.54. You could have covered, saying I just made $15, $20, whatever it was, with this day and a half short, covered. And then some people who got out of the way here could have got along for a red dog reversal and got back in, kind of like what happened here. Okay, so there is two sides of the trade. And if you look at the 5-minute, it'll give you a bit more of a clear picture where it did get weaker. Okay, here was the chart that I showed you yesterday, that if you shorted because of this gap up, the consolidation versus the high here, and when it broke this flag, you could have got short there. Maybe on the close, you took home a third, okay? And then, on the open, or you took home nothing and said, wow, it's up $1 pre-market. I'm going to fade this move. Boom, you had a quick move lower. So that was your cover. That's your day and a half move. Nice tactic. Then it regrouped, and then reclaimed this prior low. Okay, and then that could have been your long, and boom, you could have had two trades right there and then right there. So there is intraday action if you can handle Netflix, if you like to trade it, and if you use technicals and some of the tactics. So Netflix and Tesla, strong names. You could have done a cute short, and then you could have went back to the trend, which has been to the upside. And then we see even Amazon gave you a small trade. That one I went with, and still not really trading well. Okay, I know everyone was looking at it this morning. It triggered below the prior low, which was right here. Gave you a small little wedge, and that's when I bought it. And then I added right here, and I sold some into strength, and then got stopped out right there and said that's my trade. That's all I was looking for. Something like that. Something like that could pay your bills every day. And then I actually missed this part of it, and then it wound up coming back down. And now you go to the daily chart. What does Amazon look like? Looks better. Actually, you finally found the pivot. You have a descending channel here. So at some point, if it wants to get better, maybe it clears that. Google, still a choppy mess, laggard. Not the same as Netflix, not the same as Tesla, not the same as Apple, not the same as those guys. Big resistance here, failed a few times at 580, trying to hold support, and it's trying to work its way through the 200-day, but it's very choppy. I've traded it the past few days, and I'm not getting anywhere. I'm kind of scared of Google for some reason, just because I haven't had much success there. We'll see what happens in the next day or so. I did see a lot of 13F filings where it looked like bigger guys are taking some kind of positions here in the last quarter or so. Maybe they think it's going to have a capital reallocation, and they're playing for that, but we'll see. Apple, it's still fine. You can't buy strength. Here's your big support. This is when it broke above, that little wedge type descending channel we talked about, and it's letting the 8-day catch up, and still looks fine. Let it hang here for a little bit longer. Then at some point, perhaps it breaks above this 31 and tries to, make a stab at the old highs. Not a barn burner, but it's something to do every day, I guess. If you need something to do, every few times it's consolidated, went up, consolidated, went up, and this time it's still in the game, but you have to be really careful, with your pricing. Then you have some bios that have been going. I know Sperling's in this TTPH and had a nice breakout today. I listed it in my note a few times. If you bought the breakout, great. Maybe hopefully you guys get some follow through tomorrow. Guild, guys are talking about buying the dip, and if you did, great job. It's been a leadership type stock. It broke above this. We had it also in one of the notes where it broke above the chart, came in, tested the 8-day, and held. So if you wanted to buy the dip, That gave you something there. And then the disaster for the day was the airlines, Delta. Big, look, actually, at least it gave you a clue yesterday, right? Delta, engulfed this entire upper flag. So, and that was with oil coming in. So that was your sign to get the hell out of this stock. You would have missed this entire, move lower. UAL, it's been a disaster. Okay, this punched a 200-day, closed with velocity behind it, outside day there. Hopefully some guys were short, because this could have given you signals to be short. Oil down, airlines not up, outside day, get out of Dodge, maybe get short, and then you get paid. JetBlue, looks like it kind of broke its, or at least a day to take notice. I'd be careful. Here is it gapped up, closing the lows. That means they sold strength, meaning momentum is probably not there. And then it broke, hasn't really broken this yet, but it broke its upper channel. So just be careful there. And some of the banks got a little weaker. I sold my Citigroup yesterday. Maybe if it comes in a little bit more, I'll buy it back. Goldman Sachs hangs in there, still above the 8-day. These things are still holding in pretty well, even with the settlement that they had. BlackBerry, really, not really doing much. I'm going to give it a little bit more time, but for some reason my little gut's telling me something happens this time, and it gets some kind of deal or big time partnership or something. But so far not so good. He was your wide range bar. I've been kind of a market maker in this since, but it doesn't look great. I'm still also sitting in this Altera. I usually don't sit in these things like this, but for some reason I feel like Monday they put talks back on. I've been in the options since like here, so I made some money in the options, and then I bought the stock here when I had to sell my options because I had the 15s, and so now I'm still in it. And I think if something has to happen, it has to happen soon. If you start talks on a Monday, unless it falls apart, you get something done maybe that week. So I'm in it small. I've been looking at the options, and the spread's like $4, so it's telling me the specialists do not want you to buy options there. You could actually buy the option, pay the offer up, and you might even lose if the deal is not that high. So that's why I've been holding a little stock, but a little out of character for me. And that's really it. There are guys that are pulling their hair out in the market, trying to be in every move, trying to be spread out, and there are those that are trying to pick their spots, make their money, book it, maybe risk a little bit. If you lose a little, you're done for the day, and you net money. The way to make money and have this as a career is you net money every single day. If you make money, lose money, make money, lose money, you're never going to get anywhere, and your head's going to be all frazzled. But if you net money and hit a single, every day, sometimes a bunt, maybe even you hit a single and you steal second on a really good setup, which could have been today with Bob or some of the others, it adds up. But you don't want to be up, down, up, down, up, down, and all you do is write tickets and wind up being nowhere. So net money, and try and just go with the compelling setup. Don't trade the noise. Have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow.